Hey everybody, I'm Matt DeWolf, and I'm your host for Better Car Washing Everywhere. We exist on this podcast to help make sure that you're becoming a better car washer no matter where you are on your journey, and maybe help you develop a little bit along the way in terms of your leadership potential as well. Now, today, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about an age-old question: free or not free? That will be the question today. And in order for me to unpack that, I'm going to bring on a special guest. We're going to have Tara Baugher from TB Consulting, formerly of Rainforest Car Wash, who has a ton of experience on a marketing and operations side of this business. So joining me today is Tara Baugher. Tara, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, this is one of my favorite topics.
I am so excited to talk about this because it really is one of those things that's like, it can be a hot button issue, right? It's like people get really fired up. And what we've seen, obviously, as this industry's continued to grow at a breakneck pace, is competition increases. That's going to happen, right? And so everybody starts to get a little afraid and they say, oh my gosh, I have to offer more free stuff. Is that what we have to do, Tara?
Oh, of course not. I think that's the trick question, right? I think that free is often a trap that's easy to fall into, right? Especially smaller chains, they see these large corporations offering like a whole locker full of free cleaning supplies. And, you know, they hear from their customers, oh, so and so down the street has like free dash wipes. Why don't you? Right? And they feel that pressure. But it's not keeping up with the Joneses. You don't have to do that. And I think that's a great topic to dive into.
Well, so where does that come from for people, right? Like there's a little bit of keeping up with the Joneses, but like how do I know when I should be keeping up and when I should just be fine doing what I do and doing it best?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we've seen so much innovation over the
Mm.
last 5 years. I mean, huge changes, right? And I think there's a difference between keeping up with innovation and trying to keep up with what the big corporations are doing it and doing it just because they are. And there's a huge difference in that. And if the guy down the street starts offering towels, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to do that as well, right? They're your competition, but that doesn't mean you have to mirror everything you do. You're different from them for a reason. And I think that is a big differentiator of just because your competition is doing it, just because you see these large chains doing it, does not mean it's right for you or that it's wise for you to do it.
Yeah, Terry, one of the things that you say, I've heard you say this before, is that free is okay, but not forever. Can you
Yes.
explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to free, there's an expectation and there's almost an entitlement that comes from consumers.
Hmm.
I know that I put out a video about our free wash is worth it, and I know that was a bit controversial, intentionally so, but I think that it is timing is really important. You can have fixed free amenities. You can have the vacuums, you can have air fresheners, things like that. But the bigger ticket items, the more expensive things, if you spread them out more infrequent, right, you're able to create demand, you're able to create surprise, you're able to create a better customer experience and impact. And the more you give out free things and you start really to push down your margins and really
Hmm.
devalue your services as a whole, right? You don't have to give away the whole house just to throw a party. It is, they're going to come anyways just for the snacks. Like, you don't have to give everything away.
Yeah, I think that's a really big deal here. Like at some point, the basket of stuff that you're giving away, it runs out of space, right? There's
Right,
nothing else to put in the basket, or at least there's nothing else left of value to put in that basket. So at that point, you're just putting in more crap.
right,
And people don't want more. Well, people do kind of want free crap, but that's a different episode. Um, that basket gets full, and then you're just struggling, and like you just said, your margins start to erode, right? Because now you've
right,
got this basket for this this wash membership that suddenly is more than the price of the monthly membership, and you're giving them this
right.
basket full of stuff. So it's like, okay, hold on, I need to back up and think about what I'm doing. Is it brand aligned? Am I doing things really well? And what real value are my customers getting out of these freebies or these amenities? I
Right.
prefer, we say free versus not free. Amenities, there is value in amenities, right?
Of
There's a reason to
course.
have that stuff.
And to your point, you almost have to step back and say, am I doing this for the right reasons? Am I doing this? Is this aligned with what I want to do? Is this, like you said, is it aligned with the brand? And am I doing it just because my competition is? And does that make sense? Because you have to factor all of these things into your cost per car. If you're doing free towels, if you're doing dash
Hmm.
wipes, if you're doing air fresheners, right? All of these things factor into your cost per car, not to mention, especially on the membership side, their washes, right? And you're eating away slowly and slowly at your margins. Now, I know that there's some washes out there who are killing it and can absolutely afford all the amenities in the world, but that's not realistic for a large portion of our industry. So you have to play it wisely. And I think that there comes this inherent pressure just because the guy down the street is doing it, or just because these large chains or the best operators are doing it, they feel like they need to jump on that too. And I feel the amenities is such an easy thing to jump on
Hmm.
when really that's a band-aid. And there's really a bigger picture there.
Well, it becomes really difficult to come back from that. So
Yes.
if you're giving away the free microfiber towels and you're giving away dash wipes and you're giving away all of these things, and then in 3 to 5 years you suddenly realize, ooh, that's hurting me. I need to probably start charging for those. That's going to be really painful for you.
Yes, and it is. It is. I've personally gone through that. We offered free air fresheners for a long time and then had to cut budgets and had to take away free air fresheners. You wouldn't believe how many complaints that we got and how many people threatened to leave because we no longer have free air fresheners. It is, once you jump off that cliff into free, it is so, so hard to get back up. And you're just going to create a negative customer experience doing so. So I always caution people when they're looking at free towels, when they're looking at anything free, is make sure you do the math. Make sure you do your proper forecasting. Can you still afford this if times get tough? If you get really thin,
Hmm.
is this something that you can still hold on to? Because if you take it away, customers aren't going to understand that. They have become entitled to it. They feel like it is a aspect of what they're paying for, and now you're taking something away from them.
Yeah, and that's tough. That's
It
really
is.
tough. I mean, think about how that feels if you step on the customer side and think about the favorite places you go and the favorite freebies that you get at those places. Like I used to park at the airport off-site parking, and one day I pulled up and they handed me a bottle of water when I left. And I was like, "Oh, that's amazing. That's so nice." And that was great, and I was really excited about that. And they did that for like maybe 4 or 5 times, and then they stopped giving me the water. And guess what I did? I stopped parking at that parking lot.
Right.
It was over. I'm like, well, that's not good. And they could have never offered me that water, and I would still be parking there today.
Yep.
But because they took it away, I'm like, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good anymore.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You are building the free into your model. You're
Hmm.
building it into your value. And when you remove it, you're removing a piece of your value. And I think a great example of this is, the dry and shines, right? Everybody loves the dry and shines. Side dry and shine is kind of iffy, but I know that from experience, when you try to take those side dry and shines out, even if they're not rotating, even if they're not there, the customers lose their minds because they no longer see the dry and shine there. So it's perception, right? It's the perception that they're not getting what they're paying for, and you fall into that same trap with the free amenities.
So how do you counsel operators on finding balance? Like, what's the balance here? Because I mean, there's value, like we said, there's value in having some of these things, and people do like them, and it does create a different level of affinity.
Right.
What are some ways that we can kind of find balance?
I think it is a healthy mix of fixed versus infrequent. Say,
Hmm.
for example, it's a smaller operation, and really the only amenity that you can really squeeze by is free vacuums and air fresheners, which is, in my opinion, more than enough.
Agreed.
But you want to be able to do more. Okay, well, how do you do more? The guy down the street's doing all this cool stuff, and the customers keep saying, well, I want to be able to wash my mats, or I want to be able to fill up my car with, or fill up my tires with air. And you're like, well, crap, I can't afford those things. But what you can do is you can make special, I would say like events or
Mm-hmm.
special like short-term things. There was a car wash in California that gave away Halloween buckets for the first 200 people in 1 week. I mean, it's genius, right? It
Mm-hmm.
is, that's not necessarily amenity, right? However, you're still giving something to the customer that's different, that's unique and exciting. You can give away dash wipes and almost make it like a special thing out of it. You can say only our top members are getting this during this period of time. Everybody on the top package during this month is going to get dash wipes. You can say any variation of that and make it infrequent. That way, you're not having to tie it to cost per car. You're not really having to break the bank, but you're still able to provide that sense of I'm getting something to the consumer. And moreover, it makes almost a better experience, in my opinion, to the consumer because it's unexpected, it's exciting, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that they see all the time.
Yeah, surprise and delight. Surprise and delight.
Absolutely.
Like that's the thing, right?
Absolutely.
Like that's how you create really um, loyal brand enthusiasts. Like
Yeah.
surprise them and delight them
Yeah.
at the
It's how
most
you create
unexpected moments.
fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
The the interesting thing I was thinking about when you were going through that is like, one of the challenges everybody has is trying to incent increased wash behavior for those members in the first few months, right? Because you're trying to like get that habit instilled in them so that they're not going to churn out on you. And think like as you're talking about freebies for people who are based on X. Well, what if you do it based on people are going to just flame me for this, but what if you do it based on how much they're washing their car? Right? Like
Yeah.
like uses. So it's like, okay, especially for people who are new on that membership plan, in that first 3 months, what kind of surprises and delights can you have for them based on the frequency of them washing? So you're incenting
Right.
the right behavior from them. Now, you got to pull off at some point because,
Right.
suddenly that member's washing 15 times a month and you're like, dang, that backfired.
Right.
But,
Right. Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that I think can make a difference.
No, I completely agree. I think that also aids, like you said, churn. It aids in so much retention.
Hmm.
And one thing too I want to touch on is you mentioned habits, right? That is a hot word in our industry is everybody wants to create those habits within those first 30, 60, 90 days. But one thing that has to be very clear is habits don't necessarily mean that they're always coming to your site,
Hmm.
right? You can stay in front of them from a marketing perspective through SMS, through email, through social. You can give away some of those amenities through those channels and you can reach out to them via email per usage, right? Like say they stay for 1 month, you give them something or you offer them something. They have to come in to get it, but you give them something and you
Hmm.
offer them something, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get them to the site every single time, but as long as you're staying front of mind, you're building that relationship with that consumer, you're building that familiarity, you're
Hmm.
going to see that your retention does extend.
Well, yeah, I mean, and members or non-members, right? That
Right?
strategy works because if you're trying to get wheels on lot, guess what? Giveaways will do it. But you
Oh,
have to
they
be
do.
intentional, right? You have to make campaigns around them.
Right. Right. Yep. Exactly. And I think so often I talk to operators and they're like, well, how are my people going to know? How are my people going to know when this person pulls up and that they should be getting X, Y, and Z? And it's not on the employee, it's on the consumer. You
Hmm.
send that message to the consumer and it's on them to come and pick it up or redeem it.
Yeah.
And that is just another incentive to get wheels on the lot. It's another excuse to bring them in. And so it's a win.
Love that. Love that.
Mhm.
Well, we're gonna move into a little bit of a um, shtick I want to do, a little bit of a segment, if you will, that I like because it's kind of rapid fire. If we want to dive into any of the specific topics, we sure can. This is something I'm calling thumbs up, thumbs down. This is something I'm resurrecting that that died a long time ago. We'll see if it should stay dead or if it's okay to come back. So we're talking a lot about freebies, uh, what to do free, what not to do free, and I'm gonna list off a few things here. And for each one, you got to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down
Okay.
on if you think it should be free. So it's whether or not the item should be free. People should offer them free. All right.
Okay.
So are you ready?
Yep, I think I can follow rules.
Well, we'll see. All right.
Yeah,
So, free vacuums. Should they be free? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm already gonna break a rule.
Oh man, thumbs to the side. See, that's the thing. That's
Yes,
why it died before. Thumbs to the side. Tell me why.
yeah. Okay, so I am a fan of paid vacs, I have to admit. I think that free vacuums absolutely have their place. But I don't think that, dependent on your model, that you should shy away from the idea that vacuums are only for members.
Hmm.
I don't think that that is a poor strategy. It's something that you need to build around and you need to cultivate with proper messaging and conditioning of your consumer. But if we're looking at vacs for members, vacs for retail washes, I would not shy away from that. Oftentimes we see, and from my experience with open free vacs, that anybody can come up, right? The intention is they're supposed to come up and they're there, so we can approach them or we can get them into the lot. A lot of operators know that that is wishful thinking and that's not often what happens,
Yeah.
right? Right, we know that, right? We can all can admit, as much as it pains me, I know that at my facility that's what I wanted to happen, but that's not what always happened, right? So it's not necessarily a bad thing to put vacuums behind a gate or set up your site to where they have to wash to get to your vacuums, right? It's dependent upon the model, but it also depends upon your layout and your setup.
Hmm.
Not all facilities are going to be able to gate off vacuums, and maybe not everybody wants to. It really, really depends on what effort you want to put into that backlot to get those free people into the wash.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you using the freebie in that case the way it's supposed to be used? Right. The whole
Right?
concept was that the free vacuum was a way to draw people to the lot and then to get them into your loyalty clubs, right? Into your loyalty clubs,
Right.
into your membership clubs. Like that's the thing. We've sort of forgotten that, and it's just sort of sits there, and everybody has free vacuums, and then we complain when we're like, man, all of our we need to build more vacuum bays because our vacuums are always full.
Right.
Well, or it can be members only, and maybe that changes. So
Right, right. Well, that too, and to your point, one thing I hear about free vacs, right, is like you said, the whole intention is to get people onto the lot and through the wash, but yet nobody wants to spend on the extra labor to
right, right,
staff the lot,
right.
right? And if you do, you have to make sure that the people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And we all know that it doesn't work that way, not all the time. Sometimes, yes, some operators are super, super good at the lot, but not everybody, and it becomes a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, yep. All right. So number one, thumbs to the side. Next one, free Wi-Fi at full serves or flex washes. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm gonna say thumbs up.
Okay.
I am. Oh, look at my little thumbs
There it
up.
is. Yeah, you got a bubble.
I am a bit indifferent on this, especially for full server flex. You know, the customer is going to be there a little bit longer. I would be more inclined to offer free Wi-Fi for full serve
Yep.
versus flex, because flex still you really have to focus on throughput and you really have to,
Hmm.
focus on those things. If your customer's not leaving the car, I necessarily wouldn't really put in free Wi-Fi. You don't want people loitering in the vacuum area. You don't want people spending more time there than they need to. As much as we love our customers, we have to keep things moving. So I feel a full serve is way more appropriate for free Wi-Fi, and I think that's a great amenity.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I think it was a little bit of a trick question because we don't want those flex customers hanging around too long. Like get them in,
Right.
get them out. Right? We're still processing cars at that point. So let's process them. Let's move them. Let's not have them having a Zoom call in our limited lobby space,
Exactly.
interrupting other
Exactly. Or
customers.
you making, you don't want them, right, working out of their car on your lot,
Right.
as so many
Right.
people do in Starbucks. I've done it,
Yeah.
right? Like I drive around looking for free Wi-Fi, and I don't think a car wash is an appropriate place for that unless it's designed for people to come in and sit.
Yeah, if you are one of the washes out there who have a full serve space and you've got a coffee shop on premise or you've got food on premise or some other profit center that makes sense for, 1,000% let it rip. But yeah, otherwise get those cars in, get them out,
Right.
turn it over. Let's
Throughput is
go.
everything.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, next one. This is good. This is my favorite one, I think maybe. Microfiber towels. Should they be free? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm going to go in the middle again.
Ah, thumbs to the side.
I know, I know,
Come
I
on.
know. Uh, should they be free? I It really depends. I hate to say it always depends, but there's no right or wrong answer. There truly isn't,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It really does depend on your model. I see a lot of successful operators doing free towels. On the other end, I'm more of someone who likes to fall in the middle and do a towel exchange. I
yeah. I love
like
that.
to, get my money back for the towel. Say I have a nicer towel that might be like $1 per towel, right? Like really nice towel, but then I'm selling it for 5. Then people can come in and exchange it as often as they want, as long as it's not damaged. And then if it is, they have to buy a new one,
Mhm.
right? So that's kind of the process, and kind of the middle ground that I found is I didn't want to factor in towels to my cost per car. I know how often they grow legs and walk away. I know how much more uh, labor that adds on managing that process, injecting glass cleaner and all of those
Mhm.
things. That's just not something for my organization that I felt we had the bandwidth for, and it was not a high priority. We wanted to introduce towels, but in a way that didn't break the bank. And we found that towel exchange was that happy medium.
I love that idea because it opens the door for the customer to bring the thing back, right? Like not
Right,
all of the customers that take the towels are doing it on purpose. Many of them are, especially if you have a cool logo or a cool
right,
color of towel. But
right.
it opens the door and it's easy and it's like, oh, cool. I'll just take one and I'll use it and then I'll bring it back and I'll get my next one. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you're increasing touch point,
Yeah,
right? You're increasing touch points with consumers. So you have more of an opportunity to create a good experience because you're interacting with those consumers even more. So there's a lot of reasons why I like exchange programs, but I also definitely see the value in free towels. It's worked well for a lot of operators. It's just not my style.
well, that's the benefit of this thing, right? I guess there are still ways that folks need to differentiate, and maybe on your block with 5 car washes, maybe you're the one that's giving away the free towels, right?
Right. Right, right. Everybody has their own spin on things. And I
Yeah.
think, right, that's the whole conversation is, don't keep up with your competitors. Try to do your own things. Figure out what works best for you. We did not, small business, right? We could swing, but we didn't really want to swing a cost per car for towels. We didn't
Right.
want to. So we found, a middle ground.
All right. Next one. Compressed air. Compressed air. Let me clarify. Compressed air at the vacs. Thumbs up. Tell me why.
I love compressed air. I think it is an exciting amenity that most consumers, I know that it's increasing in popularity,
Hmm.
but from my experience, a lot of consumers don't even know what they are. And I've seen so many consumers try to fill up their cars, as I'm sure many people have, with compressed air, but they really enjoy it once they figure out what it is. Right. And that's almost a little counterintuitive to the towels, but not really. I find it's a really nice amenity that doesn't necessarily break the bank
Hmm.
and isn't that hard to accommodate.
Yeah, I think that's one that like you said, consumers really like it when they figure out what it is. Which
Yes.
means, guess what? That's another opportunity for customer interaction on your lot. Right?
Yes.
Oh, hey, let me help you with that. Did you know that if you do use it this way, you can get all that water out of the mirror?
Right.
Oh,
Right.
interesting. Okay, cool.
Or
Or
you're stopping that child from blowing it in their face.
right, well, do you stop them? Do you stop them though?
I do. Yes, I do. I have liability signs that you're not supposed to put it in your face because you
That's
just
funny.
know how customers can be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so funny. No, yeah, I,
Mhm.
I remember I remember very distinctly the first time I pulled onto a lot that had compressed air and it was like, "Oh my gosh, this is brilliant because this is the thing that has been
Yes.
missing this entire time." But guess what?
Yes.
I'm never going to pay for it.
Oh, right. Of
Yeah.
course. Why would you?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
would you? They have similar things in the self-serve industry too. And I always really loved those self-serves where I could just blow the water off my car. And I
Hmm.
think it's ingenious, wrapping that in with the vacuums. It makes sense. And it's such an easy amenity to add.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Okay, last one on my list, mat cleaners. Free? Free. Oh, free on the mat cleaners. All right, tell me
Free
why.
mat cleaners. Okay. Now, let me be very clear. Mat cleaners that I'm thinking about are the if we're thinking about like the Rhino mat
Hmm.
cleaners with the fabric ones, but also wash basins for the rubber mats is
Yep.
what
Okay.
I really like. I think that it's surprisingly, I've done customer surveys and things like that over the years, and mat cleaners have always been our number one amenity that
Hmm.
people like the most, above vacuums. People like the mat washers and they lose their minds over them. Even if you just have a wash basin, let's say those Rhino, I know how expensive
Yeah.
those uh, mat cleaners can be. So you can almost retrofit a wash basin, and even that people really enjoy. And it gives them, you know, a sense of authority over their own vehicle. They're cleaning and they're getting their mats, and you know, it creates a, they're not just washing the exterior of their car, right? They're coming in and they're getting it clean, and it creates a better experience for them. And I think it's a worthwhile investment. It's not one that takes quite a bit of upkeep, as long as it's not the like Rhino mats of the world. I know those
Yeah.
can be a little problematic, but I'm a big fan of wash basins.
Yeah. I think that does a couple of things, right? On the from an operator perspective, it at least limits the amount of customers that are asking you if you could just spray off their mats. Like
Oh yeah.
that's a whole thing that, like we were talking about earlier, that messes with processing cars. Like that, it's a great thing to do for customers, but it really interrupts flow, and
Right.
it just you're not really gonna. It's not gonna be that great,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Um, I think if you are, I'm with you on this one. Um, I think free as long as there's like if it's just pretty simple, right, and it's easy for
Right.
you to administer, and it's like, hey, here's a dedicated space where you can clean your mats. Have at it, go for it.
Right.
Great. I think if you are running something through a machine, you should charge for it.
Yeah, I,
That
I can see that.
that's where I would delineate. So I mean, I don't know. This may not work, but what if you had, sort of the simple? It's like good, better, best, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, good is yeah, we've got an opportunity where you can, you know, scrub them off quick or vacuum them off at the vacuum bay.
Mm-hmm.
Better is, hey, you know what? We've got these wash basins over here that you can use, and that's going to really give you a chance to scrub them off and like get them really clean. But our best option is an upcharge. That's going to be running them through one of our machines. They're going to do a great job for you. Here you go. Good, better, best.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what I'd like to see.
I don't disagree at all. I don't disagree at all. From my side of things, the machines were always free,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely see the benefit of charging it, and especially when you have wash basins alongside. And I think, you know, the conversation around amenities is what you're doing is you're empowering the consumer to take control of the
Mm-hmm.
cleanliness of their car, right? And you don't necessarily have to throw the whole kitchen sink at it. There's certain pieces and certain aspects where you're empowering them to do it on their own, but giving them just enough so they can come back again.
Yep. Yep. And make them wonder what's going to happen next time.
Yeah, yeah,
What might
yeah,
I get
that's the
next time?
goal.
Yep.
That's the
Absolutely.
goal.
All right. Tara, do you have any thumbs up or thumbs down that you'd like to go go over? I don't want to hog it.
I am, I'm curious, Matt, what do you think about the glass cleaner?
Oh
Not
man,
glass cleaner infused towels, either the
actual
spray or the
bottles of
pump.
glass cleaner.
Hmm.
I don't like those being free.
Okay,
I don't like it being free because those bottles walk away faster than the towels do. In my
right,
experience, what I've seen, they walk away, and it's just a pain to stay on top of that inventory. Towels, they fold small, they stay small, they store small. Okay, fine. Those bottles are everywhere, right? And
right,
it's a giant cluster, and customers are taking them because guess what? In the car wash space, we want our bottles to be nice. We want them to work well. So they're really generally most of the time a good bottle. So
right,
even if they're like those are going to walk away every time, I think that needs to be paid. Um, I would say infused towels, awesome, great,
right,
let it rip. The
right.
bottles full of the cleaner, no, like
No dice.
keep that stuff put away. What about you? Where are you?
I am more of on the pump fan, those little standing
Oh
pumps where you just push and you can get the glass cleaner on your towel.
yes,
That's my happy medium. Although I haven't had my hands on them and I don't know how exactly they work well in the winter. But
mm,
for Southern Hemisphere, I can really see that being a benefit. And I think that is the happy medium between glass infused or glass cleaner infused versus spray bottles is the pump.
I
How,
I like that. That's because that's I mean it's like it's quick serve restaurants ketchup pumps, right?
Right,
It's like
right, right.
yeah, you can have
But
some, but
if you're,
not too much.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And if you're throwing the whole thing, like the whole kitchen sink at your amenities, why not gate them to members only?
Hmm.
If you're, if you are throwing so much, if it's free glass cleaner, if it's, that you have a whole detail cart for consumers to use, in my mind, you're spending so much in that back lot that your highest margin should only be able to access it,
Yeah,
in my opinion, right? And that gives people more of a reason to join the membership.
yeah, and it goes to thinking beyond that customer in that exact moment and thinking about them from a lifetime value perspective,
Absolutely.
right? I mean,
Yep.
that's the big thing. Like, don't
Yep.
don't throw it all at them today for this. Like that
Right.
customer, they guess what? They got a discount on your free offering that you ran in the promotion campaign. They showed up and they're like accessing the detail cart and they're going to town. And guess what? They're walking away with that spray bottle and the towel and they're never coming back.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And you want to talk about making someone feel special, right? Your members will love a member only backlot,
Hmm.
right? They'll feel entitled to it. We all know how entitled they get to the member only lane and how snippy they can get when they see retail people going ahead of them
Yeah.
because they don't understand how the queue works. But I think that is almost the quintessential example of making your members feel special is giving them their own backlot with their own amenities.
Yeah. That's funny. That's maybe another episode too. Is how do we fix the queue? How do we fix
Yeah.
how do we fix
How
how
do
that
we
works?
deal with entitled members?
Yeah. Yeah. That's like yeah. That's I mean that is a whole psychological disaster that we
Yes.
would spend a long time on and never quite unpack.
Yes. Yes.
Um, okay, I love that. I love all those freebies. We got a lot of like to the side. I'm gonna let that slide this time. I think we're probably gonna get a lot of thumbs to the side because there's generally somewhere in between that we can land on,
Yeah.
especially when there's an industry like car wash industry where everybody's doing it a little bit different, right?
Hmm.
You got to maintain a little bit of that creativity.
Right, right. Everybody puts out a clean car anymore. And I think amenities is where most people think that they can differentiate and the only place they think they can differentiate. But it's not true. There's so many other ways that you can differentiate yourself other than, a cleaner, shinier car. But like you said, that's another topic for
That is
another call. Yeah.
well, good news for everybody listening. We will have an episode for you coming up very soon on what's changing in the consumer landscape. But that's not today, friends. So let's talk a little bit on this free train. Let's talk about where it's headed, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen in the next 3 to 5 from a free offerings versus non-free offerings?
I think it's I think there's going to be more division between the paid versus free. I think with the free amenities, I think operators are going to go full in with the free amenities, detail carts, things like that. Or I think on the other side of the coin, it will be paid. It'll be only people who are washing can access the vacs. Only people who are washing can access any of those amenities. And for me, I really hope to see in the next 3 to 5 years the amenities kind of calm down, right?
Mm.
Because we're starting to get a little bit ridiculous with them giving away ice scrapers, giving away anything that we can think of that's unique or different. We're trying to give it away. And you don't have to do that to get consumers. You don't have to do that to get people to come off your competitor's lot and come onto yours. That's the little ice scraper isn't going to sway them. It's just that's not how it works. And amenities are an easy, like I said, trap to fall into. And it's an easy thing to focus on, right? Oh, we have to give more things away.
Yep.
I tend to think that there's going to be really a line in the sand on the people who are heavy amenity and the people who are heavy paid. That's the way that I see it. Right now, there's a lot of people in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're in a very muddy space where everybody's trying to
Hmm.
figure out what they want to be and how they want to approach it.
Right.
Um, I will be very interested to see how this shakes out from a brand perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I can see this line that you're talking about getting created where people who want to try to position themselves as a premium brand are going to go paid,
Yep.
right? And so they're going to say, we're premium, it's higher end, we have better towels, like everything's a little bit more expensive over here. And then you're going to have the more commoditized side where it's like, hey, come in, get everything you need, and we're going to give you everything. So
Right.
I think that's going to be really interesting to watch. And like, how do people navigate that, and how do they come to grips with that identity crisis? Like when they're in the middle of it, going, well, what do we want to be? Like,
Right.
do we
Right.
want
Well,
to be
and
one
I
or the
think
other?
that is such a good topic too, Matt, is if you're an operator and you find yourself and you're like, holy crap, I've given away too much.
Mm-hmm.
How do I walk that back? Right? That is a very challenging thing to do, but it's not impossible. It's almost like changing prices,
Yeah.
right? Where you're going to have some people who are upset and you're going to have some people fall off, but for the majority of your customers, that is the amenity is not the reason why they're there,
Right.
right? Unless it's vacuums. Vacuums is like a ride or die type of thing for a lot of people. But right, they're there for convenience. They're there for a clean car. They're there for the experience, right? They're not going to stop coming to you. The majority of people aren't going to stop coming to you because you stopped offering air fresheners. They're going to be mad about it,
Mm-hmm.
but you can walk those things back. But it takes a very specific messaging strategy and a lot of thought put into, okay, this is what we're going to tell people. This is how we're going to start to offload these free things. Because just because you have fallen deep into the everything is free doesn't mean you can't come back from it, but it's going to take a lot of work to rebuild that.
Yeah. Yeah. It will be hard, but it's it's not
It
like
is
getting
worth
a
it.
tattoo removed, right? It's a
Yes.
little easier than that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's what all right, let's switch gears. I got two more questions for you that I want to get into. Pretty easy ones, I hope. What's let's think about what's going on right now, just industry wide, and like what are you watching? What's something you're watching, and why are you paying attention?
I think as everybody is, I am watching what the big chains are doing right
Mm-hmm.
now. I think that there is the murmurings of the bubble has popped and kind of seeing how things are starting to settle. I think that we saw such a rush, right, for a while, and now things are starting to, people feel like volume is down, members are down, all of these things are down. But I question, are they down or are they just leveling out to where it was before?
Yep.
Right? We can still see growth. We can still see it's only going to grow. There's more people. There's going to be more cars on the road. There's enough to share. But I'm curious because I know that a lot of the industry is down right now, but down compared to what?
Yeah.
That's one thing that I'm really paying attention to is are we truly down or are we just level setting to where we were before the big boom?
Yeah, that's really interesting, and that takes some work to try to get to, because there were a lot of things that happened in that time frame, right? Like there was the boom, there was COVID, there was a big inflationary period. So there's a
Yep.
lot of factors, and to be able to kind of truly get an apples to apples, you're not gonna be able to get. So you kind of have to trust it a little bit that you know what you're doing.
Well, that and it holds true for the car wash industry in general. Is there's a lot of ifs and
Yeah,
a lot of things that you can't really nail down. So we just do our best to try to make the most educated guesses that we can.
yeah. If ifs and buts were fruits and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. um, I think that's super fascinating when you think though about uh, that growth trajectory, and how people are feeling like things are down, things are down, things are down. But the other factor that I don't think we've really hit on in this space is we've made a transition into a subscription business, right?
Hmm.
And so that's a totally different thing. And your actual available market share is different in that model. Like it's
Yes.
completely different from a retail customer transaction. So there are only so many people who will ever join a thing. Like
Right.
it's capped. Like there is a capped number. So yes, more people will come of age and have cars, but still you're only talking about a percentage of those people who are moving into your area, who are actual targets for you. So
Right.
I'm kind of with you. I think it's leveling out. It feels like it's leveling out to where like we should probably be for a while. And you're going to still see a little bit of growth, but that's going to come in the small pieces, I think.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think I'm glad that you mentioned it, that there is a diminishing return there,
Yeah.
right? As brick and mortar, we are tied to the demographics around us. We're tied to the population, to the road count, and we can hope to get 2-3% of the road traffic every day. And we are at the mercy of that, right?
Yeah.
There's only so much that you can do as a car washer.
Last one I've got for you, and this can be car wash related, or it can be just something in your life. So I'll give you a second to think about this. What's a small change that's made a big difference for you? Somewhere along the way, a small change you've made that's made a big difference for you.
And can it be professional related in general?
It can be anything. It can be,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
wide open.
All right, that's a great question. Something that I still work towards, something that I actively work towards every day, is setting up stronger work-life boundaries.
Hmm.
Uh, I am an individual who always responds immediately. I am somebody who will drop everything to respond in a professional setting, employees, vendors, colleagues, whatever. And I'm always on.
Yeah.
And I sold my Apple Watch. I can't wear an Apple Watch anymore because I cannot resist looking. I can't resist. I keep my phone face down all the time because I can't, if I see a notification, I cannot help myself but to look at it. And for me, that's one of the biggest changes that I've made in the recent year, and it's made a huge difference where I'm not always on. I'm actually able to give myself space to think about other things, to read, to, enjoy life around me other than it's constantly go, go, go. Even though those notifications, they don't slow down, but I'm giving myself the space that I need to come back to them with a better mindset. But I'm curious, Matt, what about you?
It's a small change that I've made. I think that I've been much more intentional about trying to celebrate the small wins. I am constantly thinking about next, and how do we get better, 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 better. And so I've taken some time in the last year to try and say, hey, you know what? This one small thing, like, I don't know, you launched a podcast. That's a little bit of a bigger thing, but like, I would not normally celebrate that. But
Right.
taking a moment and saying, you know what? It's not that easy to do that. And to
Mm-hmm.
start the show is a big thing. So way to go. Like, you did it. Good job. Say congratulations to yourself. Or even when it's from a personal perspective, little stuff
Right.
with the kids where, like, sometimes we get frustrated with kids. So in those moments where we don't get frustrated with them and we maybe handle a situation the way we should instead of how we might otherwise, taking a
Right.
minute and realizing, okay, I did a good job. Like, I did a good
Right.
job, and that's good. And like giving yourself grace. That's the biggest thing. Giving
Yeah.
yourself grace in the process to celebrate those wins.
Yeah, I love that. I think that is so important, especially when we're thinking about gratitude and we're thinking about,
Mm-hmm.
right, so many people in this industry are so driven and they're so ambitious, and it's not enough. Nothing is ever enough, right? And I really think level setting and taking a step back to appreciate those small, that's great.
Awesome. Tara, um, I don't know if it's good or bad for you, but you're going to be a guest on this show again for sure. So you
I
can
don't have
count
a
on that.
choice.
Yeah, you know there is no choice.
Okay. All right. All
We've
right.
got
I'll
you
hold
here.
you to that.
Awesome, awesome. Folks, if you are listening, um, this was Better Car Washing Everywhere. We need your help to support this program. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you rate, make sure you share with your friends, do all of the things. And really, when you're out there, I hope that you take the time to celebrate your wins and to celebrate your team's wins. And if you can, bring someone along in your organization, develop them as a leader. Just tell them that you recognize what they're doing today. Tell them that you recognize what they're doing today. Friends, that's it for this episode. We'll see you next time.